The European Commission doesn't want Europe to fall behind on AI. Therefore, it wants to simplify the rules governing this tech, with blessings from some member states.
Unnecessary regulation in EU digital legislation must not stifle European innovation.
Das bedeutet nicht,
The European Union executive wants to do two things. First, it wants to water down consumer data protections laid out in the General Data Protection Regulation, or GDPR, so that AI companies can more easily access consumer data to train AI models. Second, it wants to postpone the so-called AI Act, a landmark piece of legislation meant to forge the European way to regulating artificial intelligence. The AI Act has placed restrictions on certain usage cases, like credit scoring or recruitment. Both proposals are part of a wider deregulation drive spurred by the so-called Draghi Report, a summary of steps Europe can take to beef up its economy.
The differences among member states in the implementation and enforcement of the GDPR, as well as overlaps in areas of potential inconsistency with the provisions of the AI Act, create the risk of European companies being excluded from early AI innovations because of regulatory framework uncertainties, as well as higher burdens for EU researchers and innovators to develop homegrown AI.
But there's another angle to the Commission's proposals: digital sovereignty, or the idea that Europe should be able to build its own tech and not rely on American or Chinese solutions. But if it's harder to build anything in Europe due to regulations, then digital sovereignty remains a mirage.
Our top priority as governments, but as well as large companies, large European companies, is to have a European preference agenda.
Thierry Breton, the bloc's former internal market commissioner, is among those who oppose the Commission's deregulation drive in the digital space.
We should resist any attempt to unravel these laws through quote-unquote omnibus bills or otherwise, mere months after they have entered into force under the pretext of simplification or remedying an alleged quote-unquote anti-innovation bias. No one is fooled over the transatlantic origin of these attempts, so let's not be useful idiots.
The Commission's proposal will have to be agreed upon with member states and the European Parliament.